There's a reason why we both have so much gray in our beards.
Sometimes you gotta white.
Sometimes you gotta learn the hard way, right?
My dream is to improve the residential building industry for all involved. Throughout this podcast, we're going to be chatting to all types of industry experts to make sure that builders, tradies and clients all have a fantastic experience. G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of Level Up. We're back here in the shed this afternoon with a very good friend of mine. This guy's helped me out a lot over the years. He's the best rep I've ever had in the industry. And really want to welcome you to Aaron Applefield. How are you, mate?
Fantastic. Had a great day today.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for coming. Like this is, we've actually had Aaron scheduled in a couple of times, and for whatever reason, I got COVID. You had a few things going on. We've had to reschedule, but he's finally here. So this is going to be a really good one because Aaron not only works in the industry and is a really good rep and very good at what he does. He's an inspiration to people. He's a great baseball player, coaches baseball, inspires people, and does a bit of everything. Like if you want to get cheered up, then you give Aaron a call and he'll sort you out. So
it's a great compliment. Thank you.
No, mate, you're an inspiration. Like I think I'm very blessed to have met you. Like we've had some good times over the years. I've never known any rep that puts in the effort that you go to. Like I think it's amazing the effort that you go to make sure that we get materials that we want, we get pricing, like you're always checking with. It's just fantastic. So
appreciate that. Thank you.
I think if more reps out there were like you, then the industry could be a hell of a lot better. Let's go down this path to start with. Like it's a lot of it's communication, isn't it? Like it's just
all of it.
Simply picking up the phone, checking on you, seeing how you're going, how's your jobs going, what do you need, what are you after, what do you got coming up? Like it's really not that hard, is it?
Well, I think when we met, what was it, 10, 12 years ago?
10, 12 years, I reckon, yeah.
I think I was very honest with all of my customers, and I said, look, I'm not a builder. I don't know how to build anything. At the end of the day, all I am is a glorified facilitator and communicator, and I will give you the best customer service you've ever had, but don't say you know to me. So I say, I need 5 links of you know, and I'm going to say, no, I don't know. You're the builder. You should know. I always had a bit of a chuckle about that, but I think it works. For me, at least it does.
I can definitely... agree with that. Like, I think the first time you called me or I met you, that's exactly what you said.
I still use that.
And I was like, what the fuck's this rep going to do for me?
Yeah, well.
he doesn't know anything, but it's been completely opposite. Like you've done more than for our business and for us and than most reps do. Like it's just been incredible. But I think the way you handle things and manage things is just a testament to your personality. I think like you're a bit of a people pleaser.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think the big thing is, and I talk to people about this a lot, is bring your identity to what you do in life. We all get caught up sometimes in a trap of what we do becoming our identity. And then as soon as something goes sour or doesn't go our way, whether it be in your social life or your professional life, that's my identity has been crushed. As opposed to if you actually bring who you are and your center to everything that you do, it makes you have integrity and people value that, and then you're genuine. Yeah. Which obviously being an American in Australia is something that I work really hard at because people think, already, this guy's in sales and he's full of shit. So, I'm quite often very candid about the fact that they love it when I say, I don't know, but I'll find out for you and I'll get back to you. And as long as you communicate that effectively to people, I think they respect it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So I think being just open and upfront and honest with people, it creates a better relationship right from the beginning, because you telling me that right from our first phone call meant that, and I know because you've I think you've pulled our supervisor up on it a couple of times when he's rung you, like thinking that you're going to know stuff, but he's had to give you more detail. But it allowed me to be very, like, I could easily ring you and you'd say, oh, look, mate, what do you got? What do we need? And like, I'd give you lengths of timber or size of timber or whatever. You were very thorough. You'd take notes and you would chase it up and I'd get the answers back. There was no bullshit. Like, no, it was just very straight, and it always got, it still does. It gets us the outcomes we need.
Well, at the end of the day, there's no value in pulling the wool over someone's eyes, and the best thing you can do possibly is manage someone's expectations early. Yeah. I find that what we try to do is go the extra mile to sell ourselves and then figure out how we're going to fulfill that obligation that we've committed to, as opposed to maybe, I know it's funny for an American to say it, but maybe work really hard to under promise and over deliver, to the point of saying sometimes to people less that you're capable of doing, and then surprise them in the end. And I fell into a trap of that. I was sharing earlier in a conversation with someone when I had a contract and I was doing design and construction and hospitality, and I couldn't figure out why I was going out and seeing clients about smoking legislation and why I wasn't getting any work, because I was giving them all this fantastic advice. But that was the problem. I was giving them all the fantastic advice and I wasn't building any value into it. I wasn't managing their expectation. As soon as I learned how to say, geez, I can see why you're battling with this. This is a really tough area. And how long have you been looking at this? And I'm really going to have to get my design team around this. And this is what we're going to have to do. All of a sudden you build value into that and started getting contracts. So,
and they trust you.
And they trust you. You.
I think so many, because that's one thing I battle with as being a builder, like with suppliers, trades and those types of things. Like when we're trying to schedule a job or communicate something to our client, I would rather someone tell me when they will be there than them agree with what I'm telling them. Because if I ring you and say, hey, is this material available? What's this cost? When can I get it? And you say, yeah, no problems. Yep, that's how much it'll be. Yeah, I will have it there on the day you want. Knowing that it's probably going to be, like, especially in the current climate, like, it's insane. Like, you ring someone and, like, I know that something should be a 4-week time, but someone's going, oh no, we'll do it in 3. Like, so I go to the client, oh yeah, we'll schedule work. We'll be there in 3 weeks, and then 4 weeks later, and it's still not there. Like, I really think that honest approach and open communication is one of the biggest successes to running a great business, and any type of business. Like, just be honest.
And look, it's one of the few things that you can genuinely control, right? I mean, I can't always control the information that's being fed to me that I then give to my clients. But all I can really tell them is, I can control what I tell you. So what I know, I will share with you. If I don't know, I'm going to say I don't know, and I'll find out. But yeah, it becomes a challenge when you're going the extra mile to try and please your client. You used it before. You said people pleaser. You can fall into a trap by doing that. You can easily fall into a trap by trying to overly please people, because if you do that on the front end too early, chances are down the track, you're probably going to let them down, as opposed to just managing that expectation really, really soon and early. Yeah,
I've just finished it for the 3rd time, an audible book called The One Thing. It's a really great book, but like in it, they talk about, like, we all just get in this habit of saying yes. And like, yes gets you nowhere. Like, you think yes is doing the right thing, keeping everybody happy, but at the end of the day, it's taking up a lot of your time, because you then can't fulfill everything, and then you're letting everybody down because you're saying yes to so much that you can't do everything. So true. And I've also learned recently, and I wish I'd learned it earlier, and I'm much better at it professionally than I am in my personal life being married, but it is the art of saying okay but, and then however, and then the powerfulness of being able to give someone what they want, but then throw in your mandatory at the end. It's like, okay, I can do that for you, but I need this, this, and this to be done. It could be as simple as, I need you to email that to me just to make sure that I haven't missed anything. And then being able to process that through. So that okay but, or that however, but and however, very powerful words. It's kind of like the word yet when people say they can't. Can't do something. No, you can't do it yet. No, can't's a horrible word. I think it's amazing how powerful words are. And I think that with words, if you're using words all the time, like can't, like, you're setting your mindset that you can't do things. Like, it's incredible how that plays on your mind and your feeling and the way you communicate with people. Words and body language are so powerful, and I spend a lot of time studying. I mean, I studied behavioral science in school, and I by far use more of that and more of my ongoing education that I do on my own, self-help education and reading like you do, and audiobooks, than probably the business side of what I learned in school. But it's quite funny, like, we've even moved into the body language side with coaching, and a lot of the players I talk to, I tell them, I don't want to see any sprinklers. I don't want to see your head go side to side. If something goes wrong, if you get a bad call or you do something wrong, no sprinklers side to side. The head goes up and down. And it's amazing when something doesn't go your way, or a product's not available, for instance, in billions. You go, okay, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to make an adjustment to that? And as soon as you say okay, and you put yourself in a solution mindset, and the head goes up and down, you're no longer thinking about what went wrong. You're thinking about, how can I rectify it? And everything's mindset, isn't it? It's huge, man. And you just touched on solutions. Like, I live my life by there's a solution for everything. Like so many of us tend to get caught in that trap where you dwell on the problem. And all that does is it ruins your day, it ruins your week, it ruins your year, your life, whatever. Like, because all you're doing is focusing on how, like, you're making a bad situation even worse because you're so focused on the problem. Like, you talk to people about it and then they get worked up about it, and then you start all this conversation, and when you can just let it all go, focus on the solution to resolve it and move forward, and never talk about that again, and your day's all of a sudden back to normal and you're moving on and things are happening.
Moving on is so important in life, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, people have talked about lots of times the analogy that the windscreen of a car is the size that it is for a reason, and the rearview mirror is the size that it is for a reason. You need the rearview mirror because you need to know where you've gone so you can learn from it. But there's a reason why the windscreen is that big, because that's where you're heading. You know, it's such an easy one. And the other one I share with my players, and I share it with people that I work with personally as well, is, you know, there's that story about the professor that's in front of a class, and there's videos out there about it as well. And he's holding a glass of water in front of him, and he's saying, you know, how heavy is that? And everyone's like 16 ounces, 21 ounces, 8 ounces. And he goes, no, I didn't ask what it weighed. I asked how heavy it was, and how heavy it is determined by how long you hold on to it like a problem, right? So if you're holding that in front of you and you're holding it for 30 seconds, does your arm get tired? No. If you hold on to that problem in that glass of water for 5 minutes, yeah, it's starting to get a little heavy. What if you held on to it for an hour or 2 hours or for a day? Well, it would cripple you. You wouldn't be able to keep your arm up that long. And it's so true.
That's
Once
awesome
you've
analogy.
held on to it long enough to learn something from it, and put it down, find the solution, move on. But it's awesome. An easy one.
That is awesome. I'm going to use that one. I love it. So, mate, tell us a little bit, like, you haven't always been in the building industry. So for those of you that out there that don't know and are watching, Aaron is actually our Brett's Timber and Hardware rep. So Brett's Timber and Hardware are a business here in Brisbane, in Queensland, Australia. They sell timber framing, trusses, you do windows, all your tie downs and fixings.
Modular homes
now.
Trade-based products.
All your door locks and hardware, like
commercial door furniture,
landscaping products,
landscape materials. Basically, we do steel. We don't sell tiles, and we don't sell carpeting or lighting. I think that's pretty much it.
Plasterboard.
We do sell plasterboard.
Right. Well, I'll have to get you to price it.
There you go. Maybe I haven't been doing my job well enough.
That's incredible company. Been around for over 100 years now. We went to your 100-year anniversary lunch. Well, that was probably 2 or 3 years ago now.
I think it was more than that. I think we were up to 107, 106. I'm going to get it wrong. I'll be in trouble.
Time flies.
I'll just say it's over 100 years. It's safe.
Yeah, but incredible company. And we've got the pleasure of Aaron being our rep. So Apples, as he's known. But mate, how did you, like, what other things before you were in the building industry and involved in the hardware? Like, what did you do?
I'll try and abbreviate that story really quickly. I came out in '98 to play baseball, and then traveled back and forth to Europe because the professional league here had shut down. In the process of doing that, I met my wife, who was my travel agent, and I decided what a great place to live and someone who can tolerate my garbage. I've traveled all over the world, and this person loves me. Wow, fantastic. So I then, from that point, decided living in Australia, what a great place. I love it here. And I decided, okay, I'm going to start a business. And I signed a kid to a professional baseball contract, helped a couple guys get overseas, and started my business through that. And then thought to myself, well, there's not a big enough market for consulting in sports management side of things. So I thought, how can I use my education? Well, what's the difference between coaching players and coaching sport as opposed to coaching business? So I went out and tried to go and get some opportunities to coach inside industry. And I didn't. It was months and months of trying, and I wasn't getting any traction. And then I decided, well, I'll start applying for some management jobs. And I'd go into these interviews and they'd offer me the job, and then I'd say, you know what, you don't need another staff member. What you need is someone to come in here and assess your business. Why don't you give me 2 weeks and I'll start on the floor, whether it's sweeping or whatever. I'll observe, I'll write you a proposal, I'll then put it in front of you. If you're happy with it, we engage. If not, at any point in time you're not happy, just stop paying me and I stop coming. Well, pretty soon I had like 8 contracts and I couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
Long story short, I had a really bad car accident, which caused me to have to shut down my business. I was $700 from being bankrupt and having to head home. home. My dad was out here and we were about to go play golf and have a conversation about me going home and running the family business. And I got a phone call from my mate who was working for Brett's at the time. And he said, hey, we're looking for a manager to go and run our Sunshine Coast store. Are you interested? And I really didn't want to leave because something that had happened to me. I wanted to be on my own back. So I went to the interview. The guy actually hired me on the spot. I was in my golf clothes. I went to go play golf with my dad where we were going to have the conversation about how I was going to keep the house here, how long I was going to be going home for, what the strategic plan was. Yeah. And I spoke to him on the course and I said, look, I know this sounds really bad, but I know that this offer will always be here and I don't want to go home with my tail between my legs. I want to do it on my own account. So he gave me his blessing. I then started with Brett's. I went up the Sunshine Coast to where they had a bathroom and appliance shop. And very quickly realized that the location was in a bad spot and there was a reason why it was struggling. We then put a plan together with the management that was down in Brisbane about how we could wind the store up, which we did, and we got rid of a lot of dead stock that we had that was basically down in Brisbane as well as the Sunshine Coast. So I got to be Jack the Slasher for several months, which was good. Yeah, it was a big clean out. It was fun, and Sunshine Coast is a lot of fun. And then from there, I came back down to Brisbane to work for Brett's, and another entity had bought that side of the business, a kitchen and appliance company. Yeah. They picked up my employment. I worked for them for a period of time before Brett's took that side of the business back again. And then from there, I was working underneath one of the managers in the showroom where we had windows, we had bathroom products, we had appliances. And then they didn't have a role for me because the GFC hit. So unfortunately, middle level management, it was like, okay. And very quickly, one of the managers at Brett's, who was on the hardware side, said, I'll take him. I can teach him about timber and hardware and stuff. I can't teach someone about customer service or passion. So that's how I came into Brett's. It kind of just fell into it through a couple of things, and I've been there, I think now 16 years.
Mate, it's look, the time that I've known you, you've like I said, you're incredibly good at your job. But I would assume it helps you to be good at your job because Brett's is a pretty good company. Like they've been around a long time. They look after people.
They invest in their staff and they care. And one thing I've always respected about Brett's is that they're constantly looking at the market, they're looking at the industry, and they're changing and they're working quickly. So sometimes when people will say, oh, well, it didn't used to be like that. And I said, yeah, that's good. That means we're evolving and changing and trying to meet the demands of the market, which, as you know, right now is really difficult.
Mate, it is.
There's no consistency in the market.
No consistency. It's all constant price increases, material availability. Like, it's just insane. And then I can imagine you guys would have a very difficult time. Like, as you know, like we do have a business now, Live Like Build, helps builders run better businesses and that sort of thing. And it surprises me and how much builders rely on their suppliers to run their business. Like, instead of spending the time to put money, time and energy into their businesses so they can, like, I don't know, looking back now, like I went through it all. Like, it's funny because I look at these guys now and I go, man, just wake up to yourself. Like, pull your head in, own it, take responsibility.
No, there's so much to that.
But it took me a long time. Like, it literally, I reckon it probably took me 8 to 10 years of running my business badly and people telling me what I needed to do. But I don't know. This is one thing that I do struggle with trying, like, because people ask me all the time, what's the one thing? What's the one thing it took you? What changed? What was that light bulb moment? And like, I look back now and I just think there were so many of them. Like, but it started with little things. Like, it was one little thing at a time. But like, I'd imagine it'd be very frustrating. Like, builders would be ringing up and expecting stuff, but they haven't scheduled it, they haven't locked it in, and you're trying to accommodate them. And it's like, everything that I'm doing, the whole reason we're sitting here talking is to improve this industry and make it better for everyone. And so much of that comes back to like I just said, like just own it. Like, look around, look what's going on, and own it. Take responsibility for it.
And don't shy away from the difficult conversations.
Yeah.
That's one of the big things as well. And I'm not just talking about conversations with clients. Yeah. but difficult conversations with yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a huge Dr. Jordan B. Peterson fan, like massive. I'll get on the cycle or the treadmill, I'll watch him and listen to him. And, one of the things that he talks about is, if you want the answer to a difficult question in your life and something that you're keep making the same mistakes about, sit on the edge of your bed and ask yourself, what mistakes am I making? What mistakes am I making repetitively over and over again? And then think about that and dwell on that for a moment. And he says, the answers will come to you.
Yeah.
You might not like them, but they're going to come to you and they'll be the right answers. And it's so true. We shy away from difficult conversations with our clients, with our spouses, with our kids, with our friends, with ourselves.
With ourselves. That was a big one for me. I really struggled to have those conversations. Everyone was trying to have them with me, but I just didn't want to have them with myself. And it's funny because I just look back and seeing where we are now, running an incredibly successful business and incredible staff. Like, I am so blessed to have the people I have around me, including people like yourself. But I just wasn't owning it. I wasn't having those conversations, and the two things I used to blame was I didn't have no time, and the client. Every problem I had was always the client. They're a shit client. They're not paying me. They're arguing with me. They're doing this. They're screwing me over. They don't know. They should know better. It was always someone else's fault. And I look back now and I just think, far out.
So they should know better, but how are they going to know better unless you have the difficult conversation with them?
Yeah, but I just wasn't owning anything, and I wasn't. I laugh. I actually laugh at it now. I look back and think, far out. How was I even surviving for as long as I did?
There's a reason why we both have so much gray in our beards.
Gray,
sometimes
mate, mine's white.
Sometimes you got to learn the hard way, right? I mean,
mine's past the gray. I'm going straight to white. But mate, you're an inspiration. You're not besides being an incredible rep. You help a lot of people. With your coaching and you get involved with some mental health stuff as well.
Yep, very much so. I'm very passionate about helping people to find their own path and their own center and their vision and what they find joy in. Because let's face it, there's nothing in the world that's perfect. So even when you have your own business and you're passionate about your business and you're thriving and you're loving it, there's still aspects of your business you don't like.
Yeah.
You got to do it at the end of the day. And, if I've had so many people help me along the way, coaches, teachers, mentors, fellowship with people like yourselves. I mean, I've developed some great relationships with my clients over time, and nothing I feel more blessed with than when someone comes to me and says, I'm struggling with something. Can I run something past you? And it's like, wow, what an honor. What an honor when someone comes to you and says, hey, can you give me some perspective? Because I don't have the perspective right now. I can't see it.
Yeah.
And it's important that you honor that respect and that honor that they're showing you. Not to dismiss it and give them the time that they deserve. Because without that, I would have been lost as well. I mean, I had guys bring me underneath their wing, both in this country and overseas when I was playing. And we'll go back to what I said before. I view myself and my center as a coach. So even whenever you say sales rep, I kind of have always viewed myself as more of a coach. Whenever I say things like, can you send that to me in email? Or whenever I go out and show people how to use our online ordering portal, I love those opportunities because you have an opportunity to coach someone so that they become more streamlined.
Yeah.
And then there's not the communication breakdown along the way. So for me, it's all about finding what your center is and then bringing your center and your drive and your passion to whatever it is that you do in life. And when you do that, it almost becomes second nature and you don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's when things are cruising along and you can keep growing and improving. Everything, just that stress goes away.
That negative stress goes away. I mean, we're all going to feel pressure and we're all going to feel stress, but you've raced cars, that stress is also what keeps you on a cutting edge and keeps you ahead of the power curve and ahead of your competition. So it's just whether or not you can place that in a good pocket of your life and feed off of it. And one of the things I tell my players is I said, if you keep that fuel and that passion inside the engine and inside yourself, you're going to be a great ball player. You're going to be a great human being. But as soon as that fire goes outside of the engine, the car burns up and so do you. So at the end of the day, we all get fired up about things. We all get angry. Some of my players, it's like grab your pants sleeve and hold on to it and grit your teeth, but then you need to let it go because you've got a job to do after this. You've got, and just like you see one client, maybe things didn't go well or there's an issue on site. Well, you've got to go to the next site and see the next client, and they're having a great time. You can't bring what you've got to them.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I've learned that driving from point A to point B, right, gives me the time to let go of that, decompress, recharge my batteries, and then
do
get
some
back
breathing, chill out a bit.
100%.
I'm a big fan of shaking it out in the truck when no one's watching, having a big bloody sing along to Akadaka or something.
Yeah, good.
Bit of Pearl Jam.
It's amazing how music can change your mindset.
Music's amazing, mate. Like, music just gets you back in that zone, but it's also like, I got it from Tony Robbins, like, you like just shaking it out, moving, like exercise, like things that get your body moving. So dancing, exercise, music, like just gets your blood pumping, gets you back in that zone, like gets rid of all your stress and your worries, and you can hit the next meeting or the next site ready to go again. Like, but so how do you, like, you still coach?
Yeah, still coach.
So baseball. Aaron's into his baseball.
So club coach at a local club. Been involved with the Brisbane Bandits for several years, which is the professional team.
Yeah.
I do some coaching on the side. I also have work with Metro, which is the region, and our Metro region is going down in nationals in June. Last year we came 5th in the country,
awesome.
and this year we're hoping to go a little bit further. I mean, look, we'd love to get 1st or 2nd place and head over to America for the Little League World Series. But
awesome.
the funny thing is trying to change your coaching style to your audience.
Yeah.
Right. So whether I'm in front of a builder, or whether I'm in front of, a guy who used to play in the big leagues, or whether I'm in front of a guy who's 18, or whether I'm in front of a 12-year-old, or a kid who's just picking up a ball for the first time at 6.
Yeah.
You really got to make sure. And I wasn't good at that before. I really had to become better at that and conscious of who I'm speaking to.
Have you done, like, have you had coaches? Do you read books? Like, do you spend time working on yourself?
Oh, absolutely. All the time. Look,
Yeah.
I think that if you're not working on yourself, you're not hungry anymore to get better? Are you that full that you're no longer hungry to get better and be a better person? I don't understand that mindset of not trying to constantly improve yourself.
Yeah.
If you're resting on your laurels, how are you going to motivate anybody else to get better? So yes, I'm
and
constantly.
that's important when you have a team of people around you, isn't it? Like, you have to be setting a good culture and a good leadership so people feed off you.
Culture, great word, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
I came into the club coaching world 2 years ago at the club I'm at, and they wanted me to coach the top team. And I said, look, I've done that. I'm really not interested in doing that. So we found another guy who's awesome, and he's better suited to do that than I am.
Yeah.
I wanted to change the culture and bring the top players and the youth together and change the culture of the club. And that was my passion. And I couldn't do that if I was just focusing on one side of it. But it's really funny when you talk about developing people and you talk about culture. Just yesterday I was on your site at the Sunshine Coast, and as soon as you walk on your job site, you can feel the chemistry. And chemistry is an interesting thing because you can't really quantify it perfectly. I've walked into clubhouses on teams and I've gone, oh, wow, this is a championship team. And you walked into other teams where there's a lot of great individuals, but they're not a team. They don't have that chemistry. They don't have that.
So what did you feel when you walked onto my job?
Instant banter. So they were actually delivering your juice windows at the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah.
And the banter between the guys was just fantastic. And it was the way that they communicated with each other. So it was clear, concise communication, where the stuff was going to go, how to lay it out. Because that way, when putting in there, I mean, there's a lot of windows and doors going into that property.
Yeah.
Really
expensive.
Cool product that you're using there too. I was really impressed by that. But
I'll stay tuned for that. But no, man, that's awesome. I appreciate the feedback on that.
But massive.
We I do, like Camille and I do aim to build a good culture in the business. Like, ultimately I want people to feel like they're not coming to work, like
family.
It's a comfortable place where they can feel relaxed and happy. They can, like, one thing I really want, and I do struggle with it, like, I want the guys and the girls to feel comfortable coming to me if they got issues or problems. And
well, you did that because you were one of the first people to embrace the trade mutt and bring it into your team and buy shirts for all of them. And I'll never forget showing up that day with the guys from Trade Mutt, and we had all the shirts and they tried them on. Which color? It wasn't even this is the one that we're all getting. It was, which one do you like and which one do you like? And you personalized that to create that chemistry and that culture.
We kept that going huge for a long time, and then the shirts got too hot. But Like you're involved with that, aren't you? Like you do.
Yeah, I was just speaking to the guys the other day. I think it's
Yeah.
fantastic what they're doing out there. Bringing to the forefront of people's mind through a visual, that there is mental health, and mental health is really important to talk about, because everyone says mental health and they think of bad mental health. That's not true. Mental health is all aspects. I was telling someone the other day, I said, I self-admitted, we're talking about admitting things. I can't think of another word other than midlife crisis, but I'm going through a midlife crisis. I'm not buying a new sports car or going out and partying like a rock star or anything like that. But I've been doing a lot of reflection on myself and really been focused on my physical health, my mental health, my spiritual health, and trying to get myself to a point where am I going to go for my next 20 years?
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to do that. It's really important to assess yourself and think about that.
I think it's unreal how the world's changing. Hey, like that. Like I know growing up, that sort of stuff wasn't really spoken about, and if it was, you're a hippie, or you're a druggo, or you're a dole bludger. Like you're put in these sort of groups, but like spiritually and fitness and your mind and your body, like it's
holistic.
It's powerful. Mm-hmm. Like, and if you like, one thing that I'm really, really big on now is if I'm not right, nothing around me can be right. If I'm not in a good place, mentally, physically, like my relationships with my wife, my kids, my people around me, like they can't be healthy. If my business can't run well, like so you've really got to work on that, and it doesn't have to be hard stuff. Like I probably don't do enough of it. Like I try and do the cold showers, and I do the breathing and those types of things. But mate, for me, even just walking up a mountain, sitting on the top, watching the sun go down, or getting up early, seeing the sun rise, or sitting on the beach, like my sort of saying is, if I got the sand or the dirt between my toes, I'm in my happy place. But you've got to find something, don't you, away from everyday life.
And everyone's different. And we were talking before about how powerful words are. I've done this for tons of times. How you going? Great, excellent, awesome. Not always great, excellent, or awesome, but does my client want to know that? No. So at the end of the day, even by me saying those words to myself, I'm projecting that everything's fantastic and great and working.
Yeah.
And you start to convince yourself of that too. So as soon as you say good or great, you start to move outside of where things are and start thinking about, okay, well, how can I make it great? It's just happens automatically.
Yeah.
It's not hocus pocus stuff.
No, but
body language and words are incredibly powerful.
But it's just, the world is really changing. Like more and more people are seeing the difference that sort of thing makes. Like, well, I know, like we're on a bit of a thing at the moment with, getting healthy. We're getting the yard done. We're going to start growing a lot of our own food and
cool.
Getting chalks. And like I'm trying to talk Camille into letting me get a pig and a couple of goats or something. But,
goats will take care of the lawn.
Yeah, like I really want to embrace it. But it's just a good lifestyle, being healthy, breathing. I love the cold showers. I know are you still doing the cold shower thing?
Hot and cold, yeah. So after training, I'll do the hot cold, as hot as you can take for as long as you take it, as cold as you can take it for as long as you can, and just flushes lactic acid. Yeah. So absolutely.
And then you, like I just love how you put 100% into everything you do, mate. Because for a while there, like with Brett's, you were doing a lot of aging in place type stuff, weren't you? Like,
yes, there was some home modification stuff that we were very active in doing. We were probably ahead of the power curve of NDIS on that one. There's another example of where Brett's saw a need, and we jumped in probably a little bit too early, because by the time NDIS caught up and the physios were going out and doing the assessments, but then trying to get the builders to then make the rectification in the home mods and getting those contracts across the line through NDIS, the system just hadn't caught up yet. So we were then there very, very early in the process, and I learned so much through that. It was really neat, and the people that we were able to help, it was incredibly empowering. Yeah,
and it is like helping people. Like, well, you're doing it in so many ways. Like you do it with that, you do it with me as a builder, and the other builders you look after. You're doing it with your baseball team and your training. Like you're always trying to give, mate, and help people out. Like it's an inspiration.
Well, leadership through servanthood. I think a lot of people misunderstand, and they think that being a servant and caring for people and trying to help is a sign of weakness. It's not. It's an incredible sign of strength, and that's people, who do you want to go to war with? If you're going to war, who do you want to stand behind? Do you want to stand behind the guy that's leading from the front, or do you want to You want to follow the guy that's in a glass office, telling you what to do and go put your life on the line.
Yeah.
It's really important. The guy who's serving and is there right beside you, that's the guy that's got the credibility, right?
Yeah.
So, it's little things. It's looking for those opportunities, and the more you look for them, the more they appear.
Yeah.
Something as simple as today, I was waiting, and this tells you a lot about society today. I was waiting. I was outside of a job site in New Farm, and I was just on my phone, and I was waiting to go inside, and I was sending an email, and I look up, and there's a cab that's pulled up, and there's an elderly gentleman who's walking down the stairs, and he was having a tough time getting down the stairs. The guy in the cab didn't move. He just stayed in the cab. So it was almost to prove a point to the cab driver that I get out of my car, walk only 5 feet, ask the guy how his day is going, open the door, can I get the door for you? Help him in the car, and then shut the door. Now, I'm not sharing that because to give myself praise or anything like that. I'm sharing it because at the end of the day, whenever you look for those opportunities, it becomes really easy because you go, what's 2 minutes out of my day to help that guy and teach the guy who's in the car a bit of a lesson?
Yeah.
He could have gotten out and done his job better.
Mate, some of the things you see these days are like, my pet thing is people dropping rubbish. Like you're walking beside one or you're driving beside someone and you see rubbish out the window.
Such a beautiful country. How can you do that?
Yeah,
I don't get it. Or flick their cigarette butts out the window. It's like, man, I wish they put ashtrays back in cars, because at least then people would put their cigarette butts in the ashtray.
Mate, those same people, they're the people that are whinging about their life and nothing goes right. Like you've got to put in effort, don't you? Like life is about putting in effort, evolving, improving, getting better at things. Like if you're comfortable, you're going backwards.
Yeah, that's 100% right.
Yeah. So, like a lot of people that watch and listen to this podcast, mate, like most of them are builders, tradies. We've got a few young people watching now. Like what advice could you give to them if they're struggling or wanting to improve culture in their businesses based on your training and what you do with your team?
Well, I think the big thing is what we've already touched on, which is spend time to reflect and assess where you're at. We talked just a moment ago about, the analogy of the windscreen and the rearview mirror. Well, to drive a car, you actually have to be present, right? So you have to look forward,
yes,
and you have to be able to check behind and check your side mirrors, but you need to be present in the moment. And it's really important that whenever you're driving the car to be present, but you don't do that when you're working on the car, right? So when you're working on the car, you're not driving it. So it's important to take time, I think, no matter what you're doing, whether it's your business or whether it's your personal life or whether it's, your family, it's really important to take time to reflect on where am I at now? Where do I want to go? And then how can I get there? And then the other thing that most people don't think about is who can help me get there?
Yeah.
We're not all circles and we're not all rectangles or squares. We're not all front rowers. We're not all quarterbacks. Yep. There takes lots of different positions in order to get somewhere. And it's about having a common goal and surrounding yourself by people who can add value to what you're doing and where you're going as a team member.
Yeah.
But if we were all the same, we wouldn't.
Pretty boring world.
It would be pretty boring, but it would also be incredibly frustrating and we wouldn't get any better. I mean, I'm really bad with numbers. So I make sure that whenever I have to do a spreadsheet or I have to do something with numbers, I get someone to check it because it's not my strength.
Yeah.
I sent a message to someone the other night around baseball and I said, I really need help wording something. And I jokingly said, I know write so good. I can talk very well, typical American out in front, no problems, but I think it's really important to acknowledge what you're good at and be proud of that. Because a lot of people aren't comfortable saying what they're good at either.
Yeah.
They think it's overly arrogant.
Well, Aussies are bad for that. Like if you speak too much that you're good at something, Aussies are the first ones to beat you down.
The tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of that. Yeah. Whenever I came to the country.
Yeah.
This is interesting when it comes to the building industry is perception.
Yeah.
So I've had clients here who show up to jobs and they're in their brand new Range Rover. They can't figure out why maybe they don't get some of the work because the Australian mindset is, oh man, he's stinging us on margin. He must be making so much on these jobs.
Yeah.
Who knows? He could, be financed to his eyeballs for that. Now you go back to where I'm from in California. If you showed up just in a ute, you're probably not getting that job for that really big renovation that you want to get done. Now, if you show up in a pretty nice car and you can meet their budget and get done what they want to get done, people are like, oh, I can afford him. It's a completely different mindset. I can afford that guy. He must be really good because he earned that.
But that's how it should be.
I agree. It is how it should be. But there is also that mindset, which is he's stinging me.
He's screwing me over. It's absolutely crazy. For me, if someone turns up well presented, at the end of the day, honestly, I don't really give a shit what they're driving. Like if someone's got a Bentley or a beat up old Hilux, like the guy in the beat up old Hilux might be quite happy to drive that, and just is what it is.
You could have a Ferrari
and he probably has more money than the guy with the Bentley.
Absolutely.
But perception is a horrible, horrible thing. But if someone turns up in a nice, well presented truck, car, whatever, they're well presented themselves, like to me, good on them if they've worked hard and they've earned the money to have that nice, well presented car. And I'm the opposite. Like I would choose someone based on being well presented and having a nice car.
Well, I'm like you. I don't take the cheapest quote.
Yeah. Oh, man, cheapest quote's always disaster.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm always going for that. I mean, I drive a Subaru. You know, that's the pocket that I live in. Toyota, Subaru, right there in that middle pocket, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the guy that I'm looking for to do my work for me as well.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I hate perception. I drive the F truck, and I get it all the time, and like people don't realise that Camille and I have goals and plans, and some of those goals and plans are 10 years. Like we have a plan to do a lot of family traveling. Like we've had a plan and a budget in place to get that truck, to get that caravan. Like it's not something that we just pull the money out of the bank and get it. Like we actually set it out and we work for it. And I'm a big believer in you've got to have goals. Like you've got to and write them down. Like I have my journal beside my bed, and I should do it every night, but I probably only do it a couple of times a week.
Put it out in the universe.
Yeah, you got to put it out there. And
Absolutely.
if you're not putting it out there, you're not doing it regularly. Like it's like the New Year's resolution thing. Like, and you can't just put something out there once and think, oh, sit back, like it's going to happen to me. Like you've got to just keep putting it out there and putting it out there. So it sets it in here, and then that just makes everything happen. But
and when you have a goal, it's not necessarily the size of the strides that you take to get to that goal. It's being consistent.
Yeah.
I put a post up the other day, and I was just on my way to the gym, but I felt the need to say it. And it was, if you want change, commit to it.
Yeah.
And then be consistent with that commitment, because there's something to be said to commit to it, sure, but are you consistent?
Yeah.
Want is great. Wishing is great. And I hear those words so often, especially with younger people. I want, I wish. Okay, are you willing? There's another W. Are you willing? Because if you're not willing and you just want and wish, that's fantastic. Sit there and want and wish all you want under the stars or under the sun laying at the beach. But if you want to get to a destination, you have to be willing to put in the time, the effort, and the pain. And as you said,
the money, the energy,
whatever it is.
Everything.
But there is a sacrifice to get what you want in life.
Yeah.
Everything, there's a sacrifice to get what you want.
People don't get that, do they?
Well, we've designed a microwave society, haven't we? I mean, at the end of the day, chuck it in the microwave, you can have your meal right away. Put it on the credit card, and you can have it now and pay for it later. The concept of delayed gratification is very difficult now to get instilled into people.
Like we're creating so many of our own issues, aren't we? Like it's just one issue after another, and we keep blaming everything else around us. Like it's the politics, it's the way the world's going, it's the ozone, like it's all this stuff.
Because there's no ownership.
Yeah, there's no ownership, no responsibility. But
one of my favorite things to do at work is when something does go sour, and I go, "That's on me. I'm really sorry. You didn't load the truck, or you didn't make the delivery. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'm your representative. That's on me, and it's my job to fix and rectify it." And if you say that to someone and they're yelling and upset and angry, how do they keep yelling and being angry at you? It's impossible, right? And if they are, then they're not probably someone I want to do business with in the future anyway. So I'll fix that problem and then probably go, probably not looking to look after them any longer, because it's a relationship, isn't it?
That is something that I have really become aware of in the last few years. Like I never, like if something's not right on site now, like if there's something, like obviously we put so much time into our pack process now, we get involved through the early stages, and I pride myself on putting a lot of time into reviewing plans before we go to contract, getting the right information to the guys on site, and just being so busy, like every now and then something will slip through, like I might not have given Camille the right information, and
you're human.
And then that's gone through to the site. But if I'm on site and someone's complaining or going off about something or whinging about something, I'll just go, that's my fault. Like, sorry guys, I didn't give Camille the right file, or I didn't give her the right information. Like you've got the wrong one there, or if you don't own it, and I think that's also plays a big part in the culture that we have in our business now, because the guys see me taking ownership of things, which means on site when they make a mistake, they're like, oh shit, that frame's wrong. That's my one. I'll cop that one, and
that's the culture.
Yeah,
you're creating that culture.
Yeah, everyone moves on. So
And it also takes confidence. It takes confidence to say, that's on me.
Yeah.
You know, people who aren't confident, or they spend too much time looking over their shoulder because of their mistakes, if you own them, you don't have to look over your shoulder so much.
Yeah.
You keep looking forward, keep moving forward.
Yeah.
So it's a culture. It's a decision.
Yeah.
It really is. It's not an easy decision.
No, but I think a lot of people, and again, it comes back to the assumption and the perception and all those sort of things. Like everyone thinks that things fall into place. It doesn't. Nothing falls into place without you putting in hard work, time, energy, money. Like you said, commitment. I love the willing. I really like that willing one. I'm going to use that. 3 W's.
Oh, I use that with my kids a little bit too much. They shake their heads now at me and go, I know, I've got to be willing. You know, I want to be this, or I'm wishing I could do that. Well, you can. You just have to be willing to put in the time, the energy and effort. And do you have a plan? What's your plan?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have one. Okay, well, that's probably where you should start.
So, mate, how do you... What age are the kids you're doing at baseball? Like?
Oh, the ones that are going down to Sydney, they're between the ages of 10 and 12.
Yeah.
But the club, I run the gamut from 5-year-olds all the way up to, we have masters who play, guys in their 50s and 60s who are playing baseball, and go down there and throw them BP and hang out. And we've got 2 women's teams, which is really neat. So it's been really fun, again, to see the culture grow. But again, it depends on who you're talking to, what message. I used a phrase the other day, and I said microcosm. I was giving a chat to a bunch of young kids. I mean a model. What's a microcosm? Sorry, a model of life. Because I was trying to teach them something about, things don't always go the way that you plan, but if you don't put in the hard work, you pretty much guarantee the fact that you're not going to be successful. But sometimes you can do everything right and things still not work out.
So
That's life.
So do you see all the builders that you look after as a bit of a team, and you're coaching?
That's
that
exactly
team?
how, because I bring who I am to what I do. And and with our online ordering portal, it's why I've embraced that, and why I'm so proud to be the guy who goes out there and promotes it and works on the front end. I've got a great team behind me that makes sure that what's ordered goes to site, and an IT team that works behind the scenes. But for me, showing someone how they can use a tool on site to increase their ability to get their products there in a timely manner and keep moving.
Oh, the portal's fantastic.
It feels great, but it feels great to help people. So there's a funny movie, and people will probably laugh at me, but there's a movie called Rise of the Guardians, and it's an animated movie.
Yeah.
But partway through that, one of the characters talks about finding your center and what's your center, and he uses the analogy of a babushka doll where you take pieces off. And then in the center, what are you? And for me, the center of me is I'm a coach, which sometimes doesn't work to my favor, because when I need to put my arm around someone for a long period of time with that empathetic, it'll be okay, I can do that for a period of time, but then I'm like, all right, so what are we going to do now? What plan are we going to put in place? What change are we going to create? And that's when I realized that's who I am by nature, and to embrace it. So when you figure out what your center is and what yours, embrace it, and then surround yourself by people that maybe have different skill sets, but then you're authentic and you're genuine. And that's something I've worked really hard on, especially, like I said, coming out in '98 as an American. I want to make sure that people, I'm not perpetuating a feeling like, oh, he's full of crap, or he's trying to pull all of us. When you go in genuine,
you've done very well, man.
And you be consistent with being genuine, then people will know. And it's a culture thing.
Yeah, no, well, mate, it's awesome. And like the other thing I need to praise you on, like, because
I'm not gonna be able to fit out the door.
Mate, you just, like, the occasional phone call just to see how we're going. Like, we might not even have an order in or anything, but you'll just pick up the phone and give me a ring and say, hey, how are you? What's going on? How's family?
And how many times does something pop up where then you go, I was just actually thinking about you, I had to do this?
Yeah.
I think there's something I've been working on for probably about 8 or 9 years, which is, that little voice you hear in your head?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been acting on it. And the more I act on it, the more I see things come from it. And it could just be someone's name pop in your head. And years ago, I pushed that aside because it wasn't on my agenda or my timeline or something. And the more I take just that second to do it, whether you call it intuition, I think this is a generalization, could get me in trouble, but I think women for the most part are much better at listening to that intuition, that voice.
Oh, definitely.
Whereas us dudes, our ego and our agenda and our pride gets in the way. Well, that's not what I'm doing right now. What am I thinking about him for? But the more you get in the habit of doing that, it's amazing what opens up for you. And I think there's a lot to be said for that, is just picking up the phone and just checking in on someone. Checking
in, just seeing how people are going. Because we touched on it before we got started today, but especially like in the current environment, it doesn't matter whether you're a builder, a tradie, a husband or wife, a shopkeeper, whatever. Like, we're living in a very, very uncertain, stressful time. Like, everybody is busy,
On edge.
No one really knows what's going to happen, where we're going to be in 12 months. And so just checking on someone, asking them how they're going, or like, I really enjoy talking to my team of like, just, how's your weekend? How's your wife? What's your kids doing? How are they going? What's school like? Like, I think that also adds to the culture of the business. And just, again, it's all about making people feel more comfortable about coming to work, and if they are having an issue, feeling comfortable enough that they can have a conversation about it, and because it is about getting things off your chest, isn't it? Like, we've talked about a lot today, like just talking to people.
Well, it's hard to focus on a task at hand if you're being bogged down or burdened by pain.
Yeah.
You know? And if even you can reduce that for a moment or for a few hours. I mean, I keep going back to sport, but you can use the analogy at work as well, is that if you've got something going on, but you have to get your job done, there's nothing wrong with crinkling it up, throwing it in the waste bin in your mind, going and doing your job as you walk onto those gates for the field, or you walk onto the building site fencing and you do your job, and then whenever you leave, picking it back up again. But how much more beautiful is it to be able to be in a comfortable environment where you can talk to your mates? So you don't actually have to crimple it up, throw it in the bin. You can share it with someone, and you can let it go, and then you can do your job, and then you can go and pick it up later with a beer or having a coffee later, because you've got someone there who cares about you, and that's a culture. And mate, I'm very blessed over the 15, 16 years at Brett's too. I've been lucky enough to have the clients that I do. And over time, a lot of those have become friendships, like yourself, where we talk about things way outside of business. It'll start with a simple conversation, and then we'll be on the phone for 20 minutes. And it's like, I got to go, man. Or you say, I got to go, but this has been a great chat.
Yeah.
It's special. It really is.
And that's what keeps the relationship going, and those little check-ins. But so what's your old man think? Like 16 years later, you've had that game of golf, and you're still here.
Yeah. I wonder if he's going to watch this or listen to this. I think it was a little tough for him. Looking back, we've had a few conversations about it. I think that he kind of always had me earmarked on eventually coming home and taking over the family business. I think it took a while for him to come to terms with the fact that this is now home in the world for me.
Yeah.
But look, like any dad, they want what's best for their kids. And I think that he's kind of come full circle, like a lot of my family, when they went, "What are you doing in Australia?" Now they're looking at, the States is a mess. It really is.
Yeah.
It saddens me a great deal. And I'm a very patriotic guy, but I'm very pleased to be raising my family and living in this country. It's such a blessing. Australia is awesome. And I think a lot of them look at me now and they're like, geez, you made a really, really good decision.
Because you're the only one in your family that lives here full time.
Yeah. I live in Australia. I've got a brother in California. My mom lives in California. My dad lives in Texas. And I've got another brother that's in Bahrain, of all places, at the moment.
Right.
Yeah, he was on a military contract in Spain for several years and now is in Bahrain. But currently, I think he's got 2 weeks in Kuwait doing something for the military.
Because your old man was in the military, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a naval aviator. So instructed at Top Gun. So that was an interesting upbringing.
Yeah.
So you used to get the white glove test going through the room, and there's dust on there, do it again. But I value that now, looking back, that really gave me a sense of discipline and structure. Which maybe then I found frustrating, like my kids find it frustrating when I'm on them about it. But now I look back and I go, well, that's why I'm able to focus and commit to things like I am.
Is that where you you have a saying, don't you, about making the bed?
So that's from a speech and a book that was written by an admiral who was a Navy SEAL. And I actually gave that book, If You Want to Change the World, Start by Making Your Bed. I gave that book to each of my coaches last year. And it's a really short book. I encourage anyone to read it. It's fantastic. It's got some really good anecdotes and stories that go deeper than the admiral's speech that he gave at Texas University, or it could be Texas Tech. But it's all about, the ritual of when you get up, you make your bed and you take pride in that job. And whenever you've made that bed, you can at least walk away saying, I did that right and I've completed that task, and then you move on to your next task. And if the day goes sour and it goes completely terrible, at least you come home to a bed that you made properly whenever you go to sleep at night. So it is very much a mindset thing. Yeah, I love that book. And I actually made my kids read that, and I sat there in bed and read it to them.
Yeah.
I believe it is, if you want to change the world, start by making your bed. It was written by an admiral who was a Navy SEAL, and it's really an amazingly inspiring book. And if you're not a big reader, you can get it on audio, and also just Google the video, because the speech is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, because it's a pretty simple thing, and I think it probably come from the conversations that you and I were having, but it's something that I do. Like, so Camille and I have this thing, like, whoever's the last one out of the bedroom makes the bed.
Yep.
And if I get up in the morning and go and have a shower, get ready, and come out, she's gone downstairs and the bed's not made, like, I can't leave the room. I have to make the bed. And it's almost like I have this mindset thing now that if the bed's not made, then my day's not going to go the way I want it to go. So it's it's
so who does a better job at making the bed? I mean, you said sometimes.
Oh, mate, definitely Camille.
Yeah,
like,
really?
No, I got some stories about that, but Camille makes the bed, mate, like a hotel. And, like, the sheets are tight, like
crisp.
And mate, when I was back in the early days, when I was bachelor and living alone, and then met Camille, like we were I don't know, we were a bit more traditional or something. It took us a long time to get to that position where she was staying over and that sort of thing. But like, I'll never forget it. Like, so she hated staying over because I was a typical bloke, mate. I never did sheets and shit. Like, if mum come over every now and then, the sheets might have got washed or whatever. But Camille's like, I'm not staying in this house until you start doing some cleaning. and she actually took me on a shopping spree to, I think we went to Freedom or somewhere, and we spent about $600 or $700, and she bloody decked out the house with all new towels and sheets and shit. And then
were you consulted on those decisions?
And a little bit.
Are you now?
A little bit, but then she made the bed, and I'll never forget it, mate. I got into bed, and I was like, she is a keeper. Like, this is unbelievable. Like, how good is this bed? Like, it's fresh. The sheets are awesome.
And she thought you were a keeper too, if she tolerated that for as long as she did before creating some change.
So yeah, that's my little story about making the bed. But
it is true. I'm religious about my routines in the morning. Once I make the bed, I do my lemon juice. I've done it forever. I then have my 3 glasses of water. And I just have a routine. And whenever I'm outside of my routine, which sometimes traveling is tough for me, but I like my routines. And it's funny, my son one time laying in bed, and we were talking about routines, and we were talking about rituals, and we are talking about sport and how that helps you with your confidence and whatnot. And I said, Hudson, that's how I deal with my anxiety. And I'll never forget the look on his face laying in bed. He snaps his head around and he goes, "You've got anxiety?" And
I wouldn't have picked you to have anxiety, mate.
But mate, everyone's got anxiety. I said, everyone has anxiety. It's the level of anxiety that you have and how you manage that anxiety. But anxiety is not a bad thing. Feeling anxious about something means it's important to you.
Yeah.
Right? So at the end of the day, if I'm feeling anxious about something, it's because it's important to me. So then how do I then put that into a positive light? And I do that through my rituals and my routines and how I get myself into a head space and a body space in order to be productive and be successful. And the look on his face was hilarious. And it was a teaching tool to help him realize that there are things that you can do to overcome anything in life.
Yeah, mate. I honestly would never have picked you to be an anxious person. Like, you're always very structured, calm. Like, that's.
Oh, come and see me on the field, and there'd be a lot of people who would disagree with you
if the team's not winning.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I've seen you at baseball, and that day we come out to the Bandits there, but
I can get a little fired.
And you were a little hot. I think that the team was a little bit behind, and you're a little bit frustrated.
Yeah, it does happen.
But like, even something as simple as that, mate. Like, again, like, years ago, I thought that was crazy. Like, I used to just jump up, get out of bed, like, race to work when I was running a heap of subbies. Bed was never made, house was never clean. I was putting everything into just thinking that I had to run the business, I had to do the work, and like, behind the scenes, things were just an absolute shambles. And it's amazing. And again, like, you sort of have to go through things and get to that point where you own it and take responsibility. And then, like, looking back now, everything in my life is a lot more structured, which means that my relationships are better, my business is better, my team that works better, my culture's better. But I do the same, mate. Like the bed's made. I do the warm lemon water. I have the apple. I generally sort of will spend a few minutes with the dogs. My youngest one, Violet, she's the early riser, so like we'll have a little chat in the morning. Like that's our little ritual. She'll generally sit on the stairs with me while I put my boots on.
That's beautiful.
And then I go to work and my day starts.
And your day starts right.
Yeah. And I'm never like I was actually thinking about it driving to work this morning because I didn't have a real good sleep last night. I was quite tired, but there was like I was driving to work actually smiling to myself, thinking I used to wake up and before I even got out of bed, I'd hit the snooze, I'd lay there, I'd think, shit, I don't want to go to work. Like, oh man, why do I have to do this? And it was a mindset thing. And I was poisoning my days every day. And I was driving to work this morning just smiling to myself thinking, I can't remember the last time I woke up and thought, I don't want to go to work. And I think like that's a position that like 10 years ago, man, I would never have thought that I would get to there. Like we were struggling with business, we were struggling with cash flow, we were struggling, like we weren't making money, like everything was tough, there was a lot of stress, but when I look back, everything's structure. Like I'm a big fan of like I believe if you work hard, you get like you accumulate things, but you need to look after those things. Like I love washing. Like one of my chill out things is yard work, mowing my lawn, and washing my cars. Like I will chill out more and be more relaxed after spending an hour or 2 hours even washing, polishing, cleaning. It might not even need washing and cleaning.
That's so Australian of you. Because being from California, I miss cheap labor. I don't like doing any of those things. I'll let you read into that any way you want to.
Oh, I love it. So what's your chill out? What do you do to chill out?
Well, that changes for me, but now I've been, as I said, reassessing things. So I've been going to the gym a lot. And I've really enjoyed that. It's not something, when I say enjoyed that, I don't enjoy it while I'm there. I enjoy the process of going there. I can't stand it while I'm there, but I persevere. But it teaches me about doing something I have to do. Am I willing to do it in order to get healthy because I want to play again? And it's something I'm passionate about because my son's never seen me play.
So is that what's driving you?
Yes,
you want
100%.
to play?
I want him to see the mongrel that he doesn't see on the field. And funny,
so is that like
quick segue story.
A Masters or something?
No. I keep getting asked that. I'm going to try and play Division 2. So not the top, but the next one down. That's my goal. And that's what I'm working really hard towards. But it was funny. My son, his team won a grand final. And he actually threw extremely well to finish the game and got the MVP and got the last out of the game. And to see him fire up like that, and I wasn't coaching at that time. I was actually off the side of the field. And I'll never forget that whenever he won the MVP and everything was going really, really good, and it was all about him basically and his teammates, I waited and I said, he started walking towards me. I said, can I get a hug now? And he started jogging towards me. And in the last 3 feet, he deviated past me and went and checked on this umpire, one of the female umpires who had broken her arm the day before, and said, Carla, are you okay? And she looks at him, yeah, aren't you a sweet boy? Like, wow, now go give your dad a hug. He's waiting for you. And I remember being more proud of him in that moment that he cared about someone else enough to do that. In a moment that was all about him, and I literally said to him, never lose that. Never lose the ability to be an absolute mongrel and beast on the field. With respect, play the game with respect, but be a mongrel, be tenacious. But don't be like that off the field all the time. Have that empathetic heart. So for me, where I find my joy is in pushing myself. So I was offered a beer earlier, and I sat down and I said, I'm off the grog right now. So I do that for periods of time. And I'm not one of those weird people that if I'm pushing myself, that's where I have peace and where I feel if I'm not pushing myself or I'm not being challenged, I start to get in my own head a little bit too much, and I start to go, well, what am I doing here? Why am I here? What's the purpose for me? So crazily enough, for me, that's where I find, and where my most happy point is where I don't have to do any thinking at all, and it'll sound crazy, is throwing batting practice. So when I've got a bunch of guys in front of me who are hitting a ball and I'm just religiously just one after another, I can just zone completely out and the rest of the world just disappears away from me.
So what do you, I don't know a lot about baseball. Are you a pitcher or a batter? Or
when I played, I was a catcher. So I was the guy, like a wicket keeper, which allowed me to play a lot longer than I probably should have, was the fact that in that position, your brain can add a lot more value than just what you do physically. So the relationship that you have with your pitcher as a catcher is a really neat one. Keep going, segue stories. I went to San Diego, I went back to California and was a celebrant for one of the players that actually I used to coach. He asked me to come back and marry him and his wife, which was such an honor. But one of the things I shared at the wedding and even before the wedding is that a pitcher-catcher relationship is very similar to that relationship of a partner and a spouse. And, when you're on the same page and you're calling the same pitches and the pitcher's thinking, yeah, that's what I want to throw, you're in the zone, you're simpatico, that's beautiful. It doesn't always stay like that. So the hard thing is to know when to call time, when to go out for a mound visit, have a chat, get back on the same page, smack each other on the ass, and get back to work. It's very similar to a relationship, right? Where, okay, time out, we're obviously not on the same page with this. Let's have a conversation. Let's get back on the same page. Probably more of a hug and a cuddle and a kiss than a smack on the ass, whatever you're into. But it's very true. It's very true, those relationships. So I was a catcher, and it was a position that I loved being behind the mask. I didn't want to be the guy that was on show. I liked being the guy behind the scenes, the one that you didn't take much notice of until the end of the game. When it was all said and done. Let the pitcher get the accolades, let him get all that, and let him go and buy me a steak later when I've done my job properly.
So, again, I don't know anything about baseball, but what's the sort, like, what do you communicate to the pitcher what to throw, or how you think the batter's going to react, or how does it work?
Yeah. So we make, a catcher will make suggestions, and they'll make suggestions based off of what they've seen in the past, what that pitcher might be throwing really well that day. He might be really good with his off-speed pitch, but you're also looking at the hitter and the way that he swings, the way he's standing in the box. So there's a tremendous amount of information that you're constantly taking in, and then you make a suggestion. But ultimately, the dude who's holding the ball, it's his decision, whether or not he's going to throw that pitch or not. And then it's that fine line of, he shakes you off and says, no, I'm not going to throw that, throws what he wants to throw, and he gets tatered out of the yard. Do you walk out to the mound for that mound visit and go, I told you so? Or do you give him a smack on the ass and say, hey, mate, go after the next hitter, you'll be right. This is why I was seeing that. So you do that by giving hand signals between your legs when you're squatted down.
So does that all ties in with you being liking your coaching, so you're reading the batter and learning about the person. And
so a catcher is basically like an extended coach on the field. They're like a general on the field, and that's one thing that I might not have always had the best arm, and I might not have been the best receiver, and I might not have been the best hitter, but the one thing I had was I could control the game. So the communication again, when I was in the field, you knew it. Whether I was in Australia, over in Europe, or in the States, I was loud and I controlled the game. And it was kind of always one of those things that if I made the wrong decision on a play, I would make the decision and the call so loud that that's where the play would go. And if it was wrong, I'd own it. But I was never hesitant to make a decision, And I think that when you have the situation like baseball, you're catching, you have 8 other players looking in at you, right? I'm looking in at them, they're looking in at me. So at the end of the day, my body language and my verbal language is something that they're looking at and they're taking part of. So if I've got my head down and I'm saying, I'm not being loud, that doesn't project confidence to the rest of the fielders. So I think that's probably, you're right. That's where it started for me, was whenever I got grabbed by the chest and said, you're catching at the age of 11, and I cried, I don't want to catch. I don't want to catch. But that was the start of it, and then that baseball knowledge and that ability to read a game and read your players is probably where it did start. And I started coaching at the age of about 14, younger kids. And that was because I had coaches that trusted me and empowered me and taught me, and I learned from them and then developed my own style.
I think we had a lady come into Live Like Build that did some work with our members, and Nicola, her name was, and it was all about finding where your passions come from. And just sitting here talking to you and thinking about so she went through this exercise with us, like all the build, myself and Amelia and all the builders in our group. Everyone, people come to you because you're out there. They know you're a builder. They want something built. They're coming to you because you're a builder. But what makes you different? What's your story? And so if people say to you, what do? Do you say, I'm a builder? or do you say, I'm a craftsman, I build beautiful homes for beautiful families? Like, what's your story? What's your passion behind it? And when I did the exercise and went back, like, it come back to a lot of stories that I've been told by my family. Like, my great grandfather was a builder, and so he built older Queenslander style homes that you can probably still drive past them now. They're still there. They were craftsmen. They built good products, and I just had this passion for building things that I could build with my hands and put out there for people to see. And it's funny sitting here listening to you, because now knowing more about baseball and the part you played in baseball, it actually ties in so much with, like, even the way you work for Brett's and the way you communicate with all us builders as a rep. Like, you're coaching all of us. You're the one. You're the catcher behind all the builders, helping us all out to do what needs to happen. Like,
we have all these great ways to communicate now, and I think that the days of ringing up the rep or ringing the office and verbally giving your order, those are over, because how hard is it to get people on the phone in any business right now? I mean, we're really good. Our call acceptance rates is exceptional, but still, it's quite difficult, and I'm not always able to take someone's call when they want to do it either. Yeah. And you're right. Finding that story behind yourself,
finding where it's come from, like finding that spark, like what started it. Like that is what will ultimately in a business set you apart. Like, that's why someone will choose to come to you before they go to Bob over here, because they've seen something. Like that's why I'm now. It's a big part of why I'm now such a huge fan of social media. Like, putting myself out there, doing all the videos, because a video isn't just putting a picture of yourself on a website or something. Like, a video, people hear your voice, your tone, they get to know your attitude, they get to learn how you'll communicate, and they will pick up on a passion, and that passion comes across in the way that you talk about things. Like, it's so many. My thing is, like, I believe social media is a new word of mouth. Like,
well, what it's done is it's allowed the megaphone to reach further, right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, people who are influencers influence inside their circle. What that's done is that's caused the circle to get greater, which is awesome. Yeah. That's fantastic, and I'm all for it. I think it's brilliant that now you can touch people who are thousands of miles away and influence their lives. Yeah. Whereas your circle used to be maybe just those that came on to your sites or those that you're engaged with. So how amazing, and what a great calling. And a better question is how did that calling come to you, Duayne? Like, how did that come about?
Putting myself out there.
Yeah.
Mate, so the whole point of Level Up is to change the industry. And a lot of that was because I went through some tough years in business. A lot of it was to do with me not owning and taking responsibility for things, but a lot of it is to do that. It's like, I just think the industry can be so much better run. It can be better managed. There's a lot more that can be done for mental health and training. But I don't know, my sort of bigger picture thing is, like, our industry creates such a lot of money. Like, I put this letter together a few years ago and sent it off some politicians because I just think that there's so many things getting missed. But, like, my point of view is, like, our industry, like, it starts with manufacturers, forestry workers, that then, like, that all comes into all those products go to a wholesaler or a warehouse or something, and then that gets distributed to somewhere and then goes to stores, and then those stores employ people, and then those stores, like, to construct something, it involves, like, so much. Like, a
lot of moving parts.
And then it's not only that. Like, if someone does a renovation or builds a new home, 9 times out of 10 they're going to put new floor furnishings in, they're going to put new furniture, new TVs. So, like, I just have this thing that the building industry is what runs everything. Like, without it, we all stop.
Well, there's a reason why so many countries stimulated their economies, during COVID, through the building industry. Yeah, which is now having implications on all of us. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
So my personal opinion is that I believe a lot of the flaws of our industry don't get talked about or don't get exposed because it would have shockwaves through the industry, and people probably wouldn't like what really goes on behind the scenes. Like, I love that the government pumps money into apprenticeship schemes, and they do pump money in to keep our industry going. But for me, a lot of it is just, it's putting a Band-Aid on something that's falling apart. Like, we're throwing money to get apprentices into our industry, and we're changing the way they're trained and the way they do their apprenticeships, which is ending up with a huge amount of unskilled labour. We're getting so many people finish their apprenticeship that aren't trained, that shouldn't be qualified, which is leading to poor quality homes being built. And like the waste. Like, I can't stand the waste that our industry contributes to landfill. Like, it's disgusting, the amount of packaging. They keep propping up our industry when there's things go wrong, like COVID and GFCs and things, but all it's doing, like, builders, and it would be no different for your local shopkeeper or your takeaway store. Like, most people get into something because they love, like, I got into building because I loved carpentry and building things. I don't like the business side of it. So, like, a chef gets into being a chef because they love being a chef. They don't start being a chef because they want to run a restaurant. And I'm sure those other industries all have the same problems that building industry has, but I believe it's exaggerated because builders deal with such huge sums of money. Like, we're literally dealing with tens or hundreds or millions of dollars. And so when the industry props us up to keep us going, they're propping up all these builders that aren't running a good business in the first place, and the problem just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you get to points where we're at now, where this year, I believe we're going to see hundreds, if not thousands, of builders either shut down or go bankrupt.
Well, how many of them are costing their jobs just based off of that job, and rather than factoring in their overheads as well?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a massive thing, or putting food on their table, or paying their insurances. I mean, that's the concern when things are being run so skinny.
Yeah, and everyone constantly says, and look, I agree to a certain extent, like, everyone says it costs so much to build, and yet my personal belief is 90% of builders are trading insolvent. Like, it costs a lot to build, but the builders aren't even making money. So everyone that works for them is. The tradies are making money, the suppliers are getting paid, the wholesalers are getting paid, like, all the other industries are getting paid, and yet the bloke at the end that is pulling it all together, taking on all the risk, all the liability, and building the product and having a contract with a client is 9 times out of 10 not making any money out of that job.
Well, I love the fact that one of the things that you've done for a long time is that you engage with your customer very early in the process. And I think that that's one area where it limits the leakage. You know, if you're going back to the designer every time that you're trying to get back to a budget and pull it back, well, they're not doing that work for free. So then your budget is constricting twice. It's constricting by what you're trying to save by making those adjustments. It's also constricting by the charge that it's in being. And then if you're doing that 3, 5, 6 times, as opposed to when you're engaged so early and you've had such a knowledge in the industry, you can guide your customer that, well, we can save a little bit here, we can invest a little bit more in there. And it's so true. It's building value into the experience. And, you know, when someone says to me, so how do you choose a builder? And I go, well, you need to have a relationship with them that you can communicate with them. Because at the end of the day, it is a short-term marriage that has a very long-term effect on your life. You know, so you better be able to communicate through the process.
Definitely. But and there's just so many levels. Like, I'm hoping that with everything that I'm doing, like, eventually the industry will be broken up a little bit more. Like, I believe family-run small businesses, guys that do renovations, one-off homes. Like, we're nearly up to our 200th home now, and we've never built the same thing twice. Like, I believe us smaller guys should be separated in the industry. Like, we're all just, everything's thrown into one basket.
This is going to piss some people off, but Duayne, when I started in this industry and fell into it, you never saw in the suburbs a project builder. It was unheard of. Now you've got project builders that are marketing themselves as knockdown rebuild specialists. It was always an architecturally designed renovation or an architecturally designed new build. It's really changed a lot.
But it's and
so has the type of homes that are going in those blocks too. Like, have you noticed there's less yards? Big square boxes.
Look, I'm not a fan of that. I like, Australia's got the largest and most expensive homes in the world, and I don't know, I'm changing my old age or something, or I'm getting more sensible. I spend so much time doing homework and researching now, but you don't need a large, like, again, it comes back to perception we we're talking about. Like, everyone thinks because it's driven by a market. A lot of time it's driven by a real estate agent saying, hey, you need 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2 garages, a pool.
Or it's driven by the negative part of social media, which is people constantly comparing themselves to what their neighbor has or their friend has. Oh, they've got this, so I need to have that.
Yeah.
That's not healthy.
Mate, my goal with everything that I'm doing, like obviously with Live Like Build, it's getting every builder. Like I want every builder, like with the time, the energy, the money, the liability, the risks, the responsibility, like everything that we have to take on. I want every builder in the world to run a successful, sustainable business, profitable business. Like everyone deserves to make money. Profit's not a dirty word.
No.
And with Quote Spec or Quote Ease now, that business, I want everybody to get their time back. I want everyone to be able to use good quality software that allows them to run their business better. And then with this Level Up, and everything Amelia and I are doing, I want people to just have a great experience, like homeowners. Like whether you're spending $50,000 or $5 million, that you have worked hard to earn that money. And so you deserve to have a great experience. And whether it's a pool house or a renovation or a new home, you've worked to create that for your family. So it absolutely shits me. So my actual goal was, and we've achieved it now, like I got to a point, and this is back in the days when I used to blame the client for everything. That client's shit. They're not paying their bills on time. They're not paying me. They're ripping me off, blah, blah, blah. But my goal was like, as soon as I went anywhere, and they still do now, even more because I put myself out there, but it didn't matter where I went to, a family barbecue, went to the pub to have a few beers. Like as soon as someone finds you're a builder, the bad stories come out. Oh, my friend got ripped off by their builder. My mate's builder didn't finish his job, or this builder did shit work. Like the house has fallen apart. You never heard a positive comment about a builder, and so I just had this goal in my mind that I want to get to a point in my business, and then it grew to I want to change the industry to get to a point where I want my clients to have such a great experience building or renovating with us that they want to sell and do it again. And I can't even remember now, like 5 or 6 years ago, we've got that to that now. Like we've had so many clients that have come to us to build their forever home. And like I know one in particular, I won't name their names, but they come to us, they had teenage kids, they wanted a forever home for their kids to finish their schooling, go to uni, and for them to retire in. And the talk throughout the whole job was, this is it, like we are not going anywhere. 2 years later, they rang us up and said, you're going to laugh at us. Like we've just been thinking about, we had such a great experience building with you that we're going to sell our house and we want you to build another one.
Oh, wow.
And we've had multiple clients now that we've had that situation. So I want everybody out there to have that experience. And like I said, whether it's $50,000 or $5 million, that is a lot of money to the person that we're working for. And so I believe it's my duty as a builder to run a successful, sustainable business so that I can give that client a great experience.
Something that I picked up on that you were talking about was when you said that, the amount that they had to work to earn that money. And then you also mentioned time before, and time is such an interesting currency, isn't it? Because it's something that we all have the same amount of a day, and it's up to you how you use it.
What you choose to do with it, yeah.
That's 100%. And I think it was really interesting how you talked about that, because it's all about most business owners. I mean, you got into business for yourself because you wanted to have a better use and more control over your what? Time.
Well, that's
the goal. Isn't that why every business owner gets into it? And then what ends up happening, you fall into a trap where you're chasing your tail, you're working.
For 10, 12 years it wasn't that. But.
Yeah. So, and then where are you now? I see you, the ability to go out, have holidays with your family, enjoy your time. It's amazing. And look where your business is now. And you're doing so many things outside of just the builds to influence the business. So it's not like you got any more time during the course of the day, right? You don't get 26 hours and I get 24.
That's right.
You've just found the ability how to use your time and how to influence others and how to get your assets around you. As we said before, the other people who have other skill sets to utilize those towards a common goal. Yeah. High five. Good job.
Cheers, mate. No, look, it's for me. It's not a for me. It's a purpose now. Like it's gone beyond the passion and I think for a long time. Like, I actually used to talk myself out of it. Like, I would get on these highs and think, fuck this, this is shit, I'm changing this industry. And then I'll talk, like, I won't name names, but like I got to a point for a little while there that people were seeing that I was stirring things up, and I got asked to have some meetings with some high associations in the industry, and like one of the most disappointing moments I had was we finished this meeting, and they said, Duayne, we commend you for what you're trying to do. Like, it is brilliant. Like, keep doing what you're doing, but we won't support you.
Yeah, but.
And I walked to that meeting, I got on the phone to Camille, I was like, you're not going to believe this. Like, they believe in everything I'm doing. They want me to keep doing what I'm doing, but they're not going to support me. And this is an association that is supposed to be supporting our industry and our clients and our builders. And so I was...
That's interesting because, you know, if there's not an issue, then how are they supporting it? So do they really want it fixed, or they want it just I mean, we can go into the medical industry, we can go into lots of different things, but is it fixing the symptom, or is it going after what's causing it and curing it?
Well, it comes back to what I said before. I think it's really old-fashioned. I think the building industry is really old-fashioned. It's very backwards. And I think, like I said, I used to get on these highs where I was like, I can do this. I'm making a change. Like, I'm getting recognised. And then I'd have a meeting like that, and I was like, why am I wasting my time? Like, I'm never going to change the industry. Why do this? But now I'm at a point now where I'm just like, stuff everybody. Like, I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm putting myself out there. I'm telling the truth. Like, we do videos with Shay. We talk about the real costs of running a building business.
Get on the train or stay at the station.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's entirely up to you.
Yeah. And I think, look, I think that's one reason why not only I click with you, but like we deal a lot with Brett's. Like I've just seen Brett's over the years, how they just continually keep adapting, and like you said before, they look at the market, they see what things are doing. And I think if our industry doesn't do that as a whole, it is just going to get worse and worse and worse. And I guess there's so many, like what started as a passion to give people a great experience has now grown into a purpose where, like, I've seen when you get to run a good business, that like your relationships get better. You're like, there's so much stress. Like, families fall apart because of the stress of running a business. So your relationship with your partners get better. Your relationship with your kids get better. Your friends get better. But more importantly, your mental health gets better. Like, one thing since I've been putting myself out there and doing all this, and I've spoken about it before. Like, there's actually two guys that have pushed to probably get to where it is now, and they were two builders that told me they were ready to end their lives, but they heard what I had to say. So I think that's really powerful for me now. And mate, if we can continue to do these podcasts, and mate, even if one person listens to this podcast and takes something away from it, I've done enough. Like,
you also don't know what that one person is going to ripple effect to other people out there as well.
Yeah.
You know, and what you touched on about Brett's is why I've been there as long as I have, is because I'm proud of the fact that they're constantly looking to make their clients' lives easier. And look, it's hard. We're not perfect, and I think I've shared this with you plenty of times. It's how you respond when things don't go well that really defines you as a person. You know, whether you put your hand up, whether you look for the opportunity to make an adjustment and to help through that process. But yeah, to constantly be looking at, okay, so we do frame and truss, but are we doing steel? No. Well, we probably should look at that because it ties in together. You know, Windows. The whole reason they got into Windows was the vein of other rebuilders' existence. Very difficult. How do we make it easier for them? Okay, we can do custom sizes. You know, how can we get a more broad spread across Queensland? Okay, well, we need to have some more stores. Okay, well, how can we get in front of more customers? By using the app, having a fleet of utes to be able to make those deliveries. I mean, I remember Brett's was way ahead of the power curve when it came to engineered flooring. You know, engineered flooring, you know, where you had the layer of veneer and then you had the ply underneath, and everyone was like, no, you got to use solid surface floors. How many solid surface floors do you see now? I mean, they're out there, but quite often, again, using materials, you know, so it's constantly looking for ways to make the industry better. And I have told you this as well before, and I'll say it to every builder out there. What you guys do is amazing and so hard, because you don't just build the house, you help them design it. You're a counselor to them. You're their finance. There's so many layers to what is done past the point of building a dream home for someone or a renovation. So it's just...
I think we're very lucky, mate. Like now, that being in a position we're in now, like being able to give someone a great experience, like get them to turn up every week, have a like our weekly site meetings are just a friendly chat now. Like most of our clients become friends. Like the amount of clients that we go camping with, go on a day adventure with, we've been on overseas holidays with multiple of our clients, which blows my mind. They become really good friends. But above all that, like we're building somebody's home, like somewhere where they live every day.
And where they create memories.
They create memories. They bring their kids up. They get engaged. They get married. Like they have babies. Like it's just and I take that pretty seriously. Like I think for me to be able to build something that someone comes home to every day, it's a happy place. It's a place where they can chill out. It's a big thing. And like I said, like my goal is to make all those people have a good experience. So if I can get builders and tradies running great businesses, which flows through to them having great lives, good relationships,
joy,
and then obviously clients getting a fantastic end product, then I'm on target.
Most definitely. No doubts about whether you're on target or not. I think it's fantastic. And again, like you said, either get on the train or stay at the station. But either way, you know where you're going because you've taken the time to think about it, plan for it, put things in place.
Yeah.
Good on you, man.
No, well,
there should be more influencers.
Yeah, mate. Look, I really appreciate your time coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
I've learned a lot. So, look, if anyone's out there, if you're in Brisbane, check out Brett's Hardware. They're definitely the leader in the business, so I think they'll look after you. But and give Apples a shout out as well. He's a fantastic bloke, and I'm sure if you got something you wanted to talk to him about, he'd help you out.
Absolutely, it'd be a pleasure. Thanks very much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Cheers. Thanks, mate. So, guys, if you enjoyed what you listened to today, you learnt something, and you want more, then like, subscribe, because that only helps us out. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Everything discussed during the Level Up podcast with me, Duayne Pearce, is based solely on my own personal experiences and those experiences of my guests. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. We recommend that you obtain your own professional advice in respect to the topics discussed during this podcast.